Welcome back to Everyday Adventures in Cooking with Rick. Tonight is such a simple recipe. Another Italian classic dish. It's a side dish. It's polenta. And I know if you're Italian, you know what polenta is. If not, polenta is cornmeal. And it's really, this is nothing but cornmeal. Coarse ground cornmeal. If you've been down south and you've had grits, grits are the same thing, but it's used with white corn. The polenta is made with yellow corn. And it's kind of a staple in a lot of Italian dishes and a lot of Italian families. And it's so simple to make, and it just goes so well with everything, or you can eat it on your own. I'm using Bob's Red Mill polenta. There's a lot of different kinds out there. But the only ingredient is ground corn, so it's such a great, simple recipe. And healthy and gluten-free. I could go on and on. I really like polenta. But I'm not going to talk about how much I like polenta anymore. We're going to actually make it. Look how simple. The only ingredients: polenta, water, and salt. That's all you need. At the end, we're going to finish it with just a little bit of butter. You don't have to. I think it just adds a little richness to it, and it makes it a little bit better. With polenta, you can have it, like I say, as a side dish. One of the things I did the other night is I made a braised pork ribs that braised in the oven for about 3 hours. In a marinated, it was with tomato and white and red wine, and I poured it over the polenta at the end, and it was fantastic. So what we're going to do now, it couldn't be simpler. We're going to put some water in the pan. We're going to bring it to a boil. We're going to add the polenta, some salt, and it's just going to cook for about 20 minutes to a half an hour till it gets nice and creamy, and your polenta is done. So why don't we get started making this polenta. Okay, so actually I have 4.5 cups of water in here that I'm adding to the pan. Now you can use chicken stock, you can use vegetable stock, beef stock when you're making your polenta. For tonight I'm just going to use a simple water is fine. And this was 4.5 cups of water. To that I'm going to add 1 cup of polenta. When you're adding the polenta, mix it well with a whisk so it doesn't lump up. And it seems like a lot of water, but it does take a lot of water. This polenta will absorb a lot of water. You could go up to 5 or 6 cups of water in this. So later on, as you're cooking, if it seems like it's too thick, we can add more water to it. But right now we're going to start with 4.5 cups of water to our 1 cup of polenta. I am going to add a teaspoon of salt right now, just to get that in there, and we can also season that up later. So now what we're going to do is let this cook for a few minutes, and I'm going to stir it now until it thickens up. And once it thickens up, then we're going to let it go on its own. Alright, so you can see now the polenta is boiling. It's starting to thicken up. The water starting to absorb into the cornmeal. And what we're going to do now, you want to keep stirring during these first few minutes so it doesn't stick to the bottom. But once we get to this point where it's starting to thicken up and you don't really see the water anymore, we're going to lower the heat, we're going to put the cover on, and we're going to let this go for probably 20 minutes. Every 5 minutes or so we're going to open it up and just give it a quick stir. So about every 5 minutes or so while this is cooking, you just want to stir it so it doesn't stick to the bottom. And now you can see the texture of it now. It's starting to come together. But you just want to stir it. And you want to use a good heavy pan for this so you're not sticking to the bottom of the pan. And then put the cover back on and let it go. And again, this should take about 25 minutes. And we'll see how that comes out then. And if you had to add more water or let it cook a little longer, that's what you do. Okay, so our polenta has now been cooking for a little over 20 minutes. And you can see it's all come together now. All the water is absorbed. I tasted a little bit. It's nice and creamy. What you want is you want to taste it, and you don't want to feel hard grains in there. So when it tastes nice and creamy, when the polenta has softened up, you're pretty much done. So what I'm going to add to it now We're going to add about a tablespoon of butter right at the end. This kind of really just, it richens it up a little bit. It kind of finishes it up. I'm also going to add maybe a quarter of a cup of fresh grated Pecorino Romano cheese in there. We're going to mix that in. We're going to let that cook for another minute or two, just till that butter melts, till that cheese melts, and then we're going to plate this up. It smells fantastic. All right, so our polenta is all done. So let's get some into a dish. That polenta, as you can see, is nice and creamy. All the water was absorbed. That was 4.5 cups of water to 1 cup of polenta in this one, and it worked out really good. A tablespoon of butter, a little bit of cheese. We're going to finish this off. I'm going to put a little bit of fresh parsley on there. Which, as you probably know by now, I like on a lot of my dishes. We're going to grate just a little bit more of that cheese on top. And that cheese is going to start melting on the top. We're going to grab a spoon. I mean, look at that. That is fantastic. You can also, if you want, you can drizzle a tiny bit of olive oil on the top if you want. That never hurts. Look at that. That is fantastic. Take a little taste of that. That is unbelievable. That is something, for me, I can eat just on its own. It's a great side dish. You know, it's like you would have mashed potatoes or anything else. But to me, this is fantastic. It's also a great dish to use when you're making another meat dish with gravy and you put it on top of this. It's unbelievable. So anyway, that's a quick video. Really simple recipe, polenta. I hope you'll try it. It's fantastic. For those of you from down south who eat grits, here's Italian grits. It's the same basic thing, only with yellow cornmeal instead of white cornmeal. You're going to love it. Again, thanks for watching this video. I hope you make this. I hope you enjoy it. If it's something you grew up eating, I'd love to hear about it. How do you make your polenta? Another time, we're going to take this polenta and we're going to chill it and then turn it into polenta cakes, which I also love, and grill them in the pan. So we had a little bit of leftover polenta here. So what I've done is taken a small Pyrex baking dish, lined it with olive oil, and I'm just going to pour this polenta right in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to chill this. You tell them, Lola. I'm going to chill this in the oven. No, I'm not. I'm going to chill this in the refrigerator. And what you're going to have then is you're going to have your polenta cake. So what I like to do is while it's still hot, I grate a little cheese on the top so it melts in there. And at this point you could add maybe some tomatoes, some mushrooms, spinach, whatever you want. Let it cool in the refrigerator. And then the next day, a couple days later, you cut it into squares, you fry it back up in a frying pan and get it nice and brown. And it's a whole different thing, and it's fantastic. So that's what you do with that leftover polenta. If you like this episode, hit like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell and you'll get alerts when new episodes come out. Check out our Facebook page, our Instagram page. Leave us comments. We really want to hear from you, and if you like these videos, if you like these recipes, or something you want to see that we haven't made yet. Again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.